Okay, 6:04, calling to order the meeting for August 27th. I hope everybody had an awesome summer. We're all looking tan and spiffy and well rested and recharged and all of that stuff. We are going to first take any public input. Delene, do we have anyone here?
No, we do not.
Okay, we do have minutes to approve from May 28th and June 25th. However, we need one more person for our quorum, so we're gonna skip by agenda item number 3. If Sonia joins us, we'll revisit that. But moving on, if Sarah, you could please update us on the capital and grant funding for tree planting.
Yeah, so spring 2024 is a wrap. Final count was 222 trees. I have a couple of items on a punch list for the contractors for the fall. Some mist trees, some replacements, some saucer magnolias that were a little too tiny for our liking. But nothing really major. I want to start tracking some of the kind of like demographics of what we've planted. I think that's something good to communicate to the public. So just some quick things to run through. We were able to complete 45 out of 125 tree requests. Not as many as we'd probably like to, but I think Paul and I were really focusing on stretches that we could quickly survey and then give the contractor a nice batch at a time. But hoping to do more this fall. Top tree types that we planted: redbud was number 1, dogwood was number 2, and then maple and hornbeam. Aside from that, we had a pretty good mixture of genus and tree types.
I love that you have included that, Sarah. I think that's really great. And I think it also shows that our top 4 are all native to Connecticut. So we're keeping in, in line with our native species. So I love that we have that information.
Yeah, and hornbeam is one of my favorite trees, and it does work near wires. Eversource is all right with it as long as it's not right under the power line. So I think that's a good one to get in the mix here on out. Have gotten feedback that we're planting a little too many little tiny dogwoods. So we need to mix that up. I think it's valid. They're pretty slow growing and they're not really having that impact that we want. But with you guys, it's hard to balance the size of the trees that we're going to have in 20 years versus the quantity of what we're able to squeeze in. I think it's a tough thing. We want a high tree count, but what are we getting out of it? Something to discuss. 82% of the trees we planted were native varieties. And then I listed out what neighborhoods we planted in. West Main, Norwalk Center, and Spring Hill were a big chunk of that. We got a few in West Norwalk, a decent amount in Woodward, and then a couple spots in Rowayton and Springwood we were able to plant.
Awesome. This is great. And again, knowing that 82% are native trees is a really great number. Have you guys heard anything about the American chestnut and how people are trying to plant more of those? Sarah, do you know anything about that?
I worked on the American chestnut project at SUNY ESF, so that was a really fun project to work on, dissecting chestnut seeds. But are they widely available for folks to plant, like they're resistant varieties?
Yeah, I have to resurrect what I read. I kind of skimmed over it really quickly, and it looks like people are trying to plant more American chestnuts, castanea, which is also native to Connecticut. I'm not sure why, why that was the focus of the article. I feel like one of those people that only reads the heading and doesn't know anything about it. So I apologize, but I'll get that that email that I clearly skimmed very quickly, and forward that information, because it seemed like there were a couple of our local environmental kind of groups on that email. So there's clearly a reason, and I should have read it more thoroughly, but we'll pass it on. I just wanted to know if anybody else had gotten that email or heard anything about it.
I mean,
That's
they're not-
interesting.
they're not surviving long anymore. I mean, their survival rate's still pretty low, right?
And I think that it sounded almost as if, because it was a native tree, they wanted to have it represented, and it wasn't really that prevalent in the area anymore. But again, I'll revisit it and I'll forward it to you guys. We're going to, unless Paul, or did you want to talk about MLK since Rich is not here, or do you want to leave that for him when he comes back?
He just emailed me saying he has ideas of where to plant on MLK, so maybe next meeting I can.
And
we
we-
can ask him.
Okay, we'll let
couple of
him do
things.
that then.
I
Okay.
can add a couple of things on that too. We are gonna have to coordinate with redevelopment with the grants they've got for doing work down there so that we can make sure we put trees in if we're gonna do them now, where they're not gonna end up getting cut down for future road expansion or road change projects. So we just gotta be careful when we do them.
On MLK.
Yeah,
Okay,
I've been in several meetings lately where they've talked about it, and so it's gonna be coming down the road.
okay, so
And-
otherwise, for,
Yeah,
for
is-
fall, oh, go ahead, Erica.
No, I was just gonna say, is Gay not here today? I just realized that her name is not up.
No, she wasn't able to join either.
Okay. Where is this 95 coming from? That's not 125 minus 45.
So some of them are not plantable in the first place, so I've sifted through a couple of those, and also some of the requests are duplicates that I've had to go through, already
okay.
planted from construction projects. So there are 95 remaining. I gave Gay a batch of mostly private tree requests, so she'll be handling a lot of those. What area was that, Paul?
It was I think there was a couple of different areas that we had looked at. And
By Westport.
yeah, one was over on Westport Avenue off of between the Westport line and then Strawberry Hill Avenue. It was that section, and some of it was north of there, up beyond like McDonald's, up in the back of Lois Street, I believe.
So we had 25 just in that area, so I gave her that nice batch, focus over there for now.
Nice, nice. That'll be great. Question, with these requests, are you finding that most of them were handwritten and given to Gay during the Earth Day? A lot of them coming in online or via email? What would you say the main way is?
At least 90% of them are from online requests.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Online, and then we do get a lot of duplicates online. A good example would be one of the spots that we did work on, Dean Court and Dean Street. We probably had 40 requests for what turned out to be like 18 trees.
Sure. Well, when neighbors get together and they feel that there's going to have to be more impact if more of them reach out, which is actually a good thing, because then clearly that entire neighborhood is on board with installing the trees and helping to care for them, or at least noticing if there's something wrong. So, I mean, that's actually a good thing. Okay, I was just curious. I thought it would be online, but I thought maybe she had gotten a nice clump during Earth Day as well.
yeah.
I think she did get several of them on Earth Day from what she said, but the majority has been online.
Yeah,
Okay,
it is
thank
pretty
you.
efficient too. When it comes in online, we get you can kind of streamline that process, but yeah.
Work in progress, right?
We will have some streetscape plantings to follow up sidewalk or paving projects. Just to name a couple, Beacon Street, they're gonna be paving and putting in sidewalks right here outside of City Hall, so we'll be planting a decent amount there. And the Berkeley area, we've actually gotten a lot of tree requests from that location, so once they wrap up, hopefully early October, we'll be able to go in and kind of follow up the project with the streetscaping, which is like that looks nicer, kind of wrapping up the area.
Mm.
And then I'm seeking your expertise on recommendations for species that we should be avoiding for fall planting. And also any that, Peter, Erica, that you'd recommend planting in the fall, because I remember that coming up I think it was like my first time attending one of these meetings. We're not always planting things that are happiest being planted in the fall, so.
Yeah, I think Peter and Rich, that's a great question for the two of them.
Right, I mean, oaks are the key one. Oaks, pin oaks are okay, but the rest don't do well in the fall. So we might go back and might give you a fuller list. Maybe Rich and I'll get together. Oaks are the key, and I think there's a couple other ones that we try not to do in the fall.
Yeah, I didn't mean on the spot. We'll
Yeah.
probably start planting last week in September, maybe, but
Does it make sense then? You know how we have this list of the trees that we want to plant? We've indicated which ones are native. The list is made up of trees that we can get fairly easily from our supplier. Is there maybe, not to give you any more work than you already have, Peter, maybe like you and Rich can go through and just put an F or an S next to something if it's better as a fall versus a spring planting, and then we keep that as part of that master list. Does that sound?
I mean, it's more of just collective knowledge. I mean, we can do that, but I think it's more internal. Right now, Olmsted, if the oaks are out of the ground and sitting in the nursery all summer, you can plant
We
them.
don't want them.
We don't want them.
Right.
But any tree we don't want. So we're looking for fall dug trees. Now, we don't always have a choice where the vendors get them from. We don't necessarily require them to dig nursery stock in the fall. They may still be pulling from the re-wholesale yards, and we don't necessarily know that. I know that Olmsted goes to Hardscrabble Farms often, for their
Mhm.
stock.
In
All
Westchester.
we can do is continue to require the quality stock, meet ANSI standards. And that's something we've gotten better at. That we've been a little lax, but 5 years ago, we were taking trees we should not have taken. And so that holding them to a standard, I think, is actually more important at some level. 'Cause
Okay. Yeah, no, I understand that. I was just thinking as like kind of a general guideline, like how you were saying, pin oak versus the other oaks do well during a certain time and not other times, but yeah,
we would identify fall risk.
okay.
We can do that.
Okay.
And,
It's not far back.
and even to Peter's point,
Yeah.
we just had some in the spring where, what Sarah was also mentioning, some softer magnolias that we had planted where they were supposed to be single stem and we got multiple stems.
could plan a procurement trip
Yeah,
for the fall if we wanted.
yeah, we could.
Actually, saucers single are hard. Emma Lankier should be able to get standards on. And I know that we've requested standards from the service berries because they really look more like a tree. And they're
Yeah.
more available than magnolias generally are multi-stem.
Yeah, they're just
But the service berries we can
stems
get,
right now.
Yeah, there are too many stems.
there's too many. And you know what? They may be cross branching and they're not going to grow well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So quality is what we're looking for. You may have to prune a few out.
Yeah.
The newly executed award, the U.S. Forestry Service IRA grant funding, who is going to talk about that?
Me again, but
Go
this is
for
real quick.
it.
We've gotten it through the Rec and Parks Committee, we've gotten it through Common Council. We got the okay to go from the US Forest Service on the grant, so it's formally and officially executed, meaning we can finally start allocating the funds. Creating contracts to expand the tree inventory to hopefully inventory 90% of the city. We've got 4,500,000 for tree planting over the next 5 years, so gotta finagle that. And just an FYI, it will expire in 2029. So that's more of just an FYI, that's gonna take a couple months to get going, but it's finally available.
No, that's awesome. So we're probably looking like 8 to 10 cycles of planting.
Yes, yeah.
Awesome. Very nice. And continuing with you, Sarah, if you want to mention the watering contract and report.
So we had all trees that were planted this spring were watered mid-June from both contractors. In July, Olmsted did water early July, like first 2-3 weeks of July. Then we've had our tropical rainy season, and so there has not been any watering reported for mid-July to early August right now. They are fulfilling their contract obligations, and as usual, if anything fails, they'll need to replace it. But an important note is we're not always going to see the dead trees, so it's really important that people report it, call customer service, inform us
Yeah.
in case we don't catch it.
Yeah, definitely. The more eyes on the streets, the better, and it helps us out because we can't be everywhere at once looking at the stuff. So any input is welcomed.
No, 100%. I mean, Norwalk's big. And as we all drive around, it's additional eyes on things for sure.
It's just the quantity of trees over the last couple of years within the warranty. You're talking about 1,000 trees.
Since Gay's not here, Sarah, did you have any tree liaison updates?
Just an ongoing conversation of how to engage people more. Last meeting in July, we kind of floated, should we try to have an event that we post about and have people come out on one day and stake with us? Kind of just an ongoing conversation of how to get that more solidified. I know Gay tries really, really hard to stay in contact with individual people, but I don't know how much that's gonna work,
I don't know if it's worth, if we wanted to have an event, but we want to make sure we get enough people to come to it. Remember, Peter, when we would have some of the tree liaison training events where we would offer them the information, the booklet, we take them out and show them what to look for and then give them the bags to go stake trees. So that would be one thing we could do to try and entice them, but we've got to get people to come to the event.
In fact, I still have one of those bags. I took it to DC and back this week, last week.
But
for
some
me-
kind of an event like that would be helpful.
Maybe, I mean, we can spitball a little bit more off as well, but people like snacks. And
Yes,
so having, maybe like even a guided walk, Sarah, you know all of these trees. You could lead a little walk someplace and let people know, hey, these are native trees. This is the kind of stuff we want to see on our streets. We want to build the canopy and just do like a walk. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be like a formal, like teaching session thing. And we just have like, I don't know, bagels and coffee or something, like that. And I think it would be great to kind of get people out, get people looking at Norwalk a little differently, get them learning about some of those trees and kind of thinking about it. And so, go back to your street. Where do you see on your street that we can, put some more trees and kind of go at it that way? I mean, I would show up for, a walk from a horticulturalist, arborist, and coffee and a bagel.
If we were gonna do something like that, would you prefer to see like maybe Cranberry or Oak Hills, or what would your preference be for location?
Yeah, I don't really, have one. I mean, it's just kind of throwing it out there. I mean, obviously I live in the Cranberry section, so, but like I said, Norwalk is so big, it could be any place, where we could, set up a little table with coffee and stuff and just have people sign in, and we'd advertise for it, I could advertise obviously at the college. We advertise on the city sites and that kind of thing. And I think we could get, a decent number of people. I mean, if you end up with 12 to 15 people, I think that's a success,
Right. I wonder if we could
just
find
trying to-
an, go ahead, Peter.
What would be the, the grabber? What's the topic? So I don't know. I'm just trying to think of what would be the reason for the hour walk.
So
Become your
we're
neighborhood
trying to
liaison.
show people a forested area of Norwalk and how we need to increase the canopy, the value of these trees, kind of going through and communing with nature, having somebody like Sarah pointing out the different types of trees.
Thinking-
And then kind of empowering people to go back to their streets and say, you know what, I can actually use 2 trees in front of my house and I never thought of it before, or I didn't know I could get them for free and I didn't want to have to pay a couple of thousand,
Or is it something slightly differently? Like if I were to say Woodward Park, I mean, we've had a tremendous impact on Woodward Park and that south end of Woodward Avenue. Is that something that's worth a 40-minute, meet and greet? And say, this is what the park was, 6 years ago, before you started investing it, and we've invested in, 80 trees. And it came,
Absolutely, absolutely. Showing like something that we've done, like a before and after, Peter, I think is amazing. Because I kind of feel like when people leave an event like that, like Earth Day, we're all like jazzed up about doing stuff,
And the hook, Peter, can be, come see what you see here, do for your neighborhood what you see here.
Yeah,
so you have to, so there's some reason to show up. It also illustrates that we've.
well, that's
done-
where the bagels and coffee come
It
in.
also illustrates how much time it takes to get something done. I mean, even MLK Boulevard is a discussion of, well, Beach Road. I mean, we've actually had a lot of impact on Beach Road over the last 12 years. So, what was there before? Not much. How we did it, what species we selected and why.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just getting people out and walking and kind of, and it really doesn't cost anything except for a box of Joe and some, and some bagels. We're talking maybe like a $50 investment.
Well, there's a little time invested in figuring out what the hell you're going to tell them, but.
But the thing is too, after that, to follow up after that, then you have the training session. And that way there, it's like a 1-2 punch so that you get them involved and then you can get them to start working in their neighborhoods and teach them how to do it.
Peter, I like Woodward because then you've got that whole area that's really sparse that we can walk down and say, look at limited space, here's where we could plant, here's the factors that we think about. It's a good central location and easy to set up for the day.
Easy setup.
Yeah.
And that's an easy place to set up a table and have signage and, people walking by might even get sucked in.
I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
how Arboretum is doing. I don't know if it's even still there. Is it, Paul?
And there's stuff still there. It is, it
The
needs a
trees
little,
are
yeah, the trees are there. It needs, the signs and stuff need a little love, but.
That was just one like quick idea that jumped into my head, but I'm sure if we all thought a little bit about it, we could all come up with 1 or 2 things, maybe email them to Sarah and we can do a combination of them. We can do all of them, we can.
Looking to sort of use this to satisfy our educational outreach component of our Tree USA City requirements.
Yeah.
So it's not just bringing them on, it's how do we start satisfying public
Mhm,
education.
mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that would definitely be a good thing. When to maybe probably try and do it September sometime and end of September, and that way there, it's not too hot, but yet it's not too cold either.
I mean, if you want to get people annoyed, we can talk about the former Lockwood Gardens on St. Philip's Church property. You want to talk about landscape history and arboriculture and horticulture. That could be a little interesting outreach. I'll probably get in trouble.
No, these are great ideas. I think we can kind of keep going on it and then email you, Sarah.
yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
Also, the NRWA and the pollinator pathway folks are constantly like down there. They might help us kind of recruit as well.
Yeah, we could use some of those people, yeah.
Of course, of course. But I think there are people in every one of our neighborhoods that want to see more trees and want to be involved. And sometimes it's just a matter of they don't know how to be.
Yeah,
I mean, it could be on a fundamental basis of why deciduous tree versus a dogwood. You know, bringing those values forward because deciduous trees do more good for our environment per se when we can get them to shade versus, you know, being just pretty. Flower. You know, we don't think about oaks as flowering, but they flower. And there's a lot of them.
No, they are flowering trees. They're just missing that petal whorl. Okay, Jeff is not here, so we're not going to hear about anything with the NTA. Is there any other business?
One of the things that I just want to mention too, that Sarah and I are looking at too, just so you guys are aware of it, as we're going further along now with the projects from the city, whether it be through redevelopment, our public works projects, TMP projects. We're gradually requiring that every one of the project, if there's any kind of an impact on trees, include a landscaping plan with it for anything that would need to be removed, modified, pruned, and then the replanting plan too. So we're starting to do that so that we're in accordance with the ordinance and some of the requirements of the ordinance. And each one of the projects is now getting a permit so that it requires them to show exactly what they're gonna do and then have their replanting plan if necessary too. So just to make everybody aware,
Let's call it a tree protection plan.
that too, all of it. So we're starting to do more of that as we go along with the various projects as we go through. So you either be seen or hear about that, don't be surprised.
Be surprised. So, you know, I did have a small email with Sarah and Mr. Torres, who just jumped off, I think, about this tree protection issue, and perhaps this concept dovetails with an in-house, in City Hall luncheons. So that your department members meet for lunch and we talk about why tree protection and why it's important. And I know this sounds a little radical, but you know, everyone sitting on the review boards and permit boards don't understand why trees are, what it takes to keep a tree in place. So it falls in that educational program, you know, it's a 20-minute discussion. You know, do I need more things to do? I don't, but certainly, you know, outreach and say, why do you need tree protection and what does it mean? And if you're not seeing it on the zoning permit applications, then we need to do this. So you're looking at it from that end, but there's also a bringing, you know, City Hall along as to why you're doing it. You know, it's gonna take a generation.
I'm talking, I know the zoning part of it is one thing for new developments and projects that come in, but I'm also talking about more of the City Hall projects too.
Everything. It's everything, yes.
no, I think that's a really good idea, Peter, and I'm trying to get folks to understand critical root zone and the sidewalk conflicts that we're coming across on every single street. I mean, Norwalk's historic trees are all right next to the roadway. And so not just take it down or not, but can we use engineering solutions to work around it or work with it?
So there may be a whole series of, you know, little luncheons over the next year. That if you can put together some thoughts, we dovetail it, and while I'm, you know, still active.
No, I'll ask Vanessa about that. If we could host that within DPW as.
And that would actually go good because there are times like we do meet with TMP on a bi-weekly basis to discuss the projects we're working on, to coordinate them. So if we were to do something like you're talking about, Peter, it would be something that would work well.
You
And
know,
we can invite more departments than just TMP
Yeah,
for our projects.
departmental,
We would
yeah.
invite several departments, including like even building department, other departments like that, to see the construction going on so that they know what to look for. And if they see it, even if it's not part of their permits, let us know.
and this is where Erica's point is, it may take us buying lunch. It'll take us providing lunch.
People like
do this.
snacks.
Come and hear me spiel about, you're doing it wrong, and which make them pissed off, but you give them pizza and it all of a sudden it's okay.
No, it sounds good. I'll definitely talk to Vanessa about that, try to set it up.
Awesome, awesome, awesome.
And there are vendors out there, if we want to start bringing in someone like, Deep Roots does tree support, like, sidewalk support systems. They would be willing to give a lunch. I don't know if they'd be willing to come to talk to people. So there are
Guest
manufacturers
speakers.
that
That's
are
cool.
willing
Yeah.
to talk about their products. It's
Yeah.
sales.
Okay, awesome. Great meeting, guys. Sorry Sonia didn't join us. Hope she's okay. So we will have, I guess, 3 batches of meeting minutes to approve next month. Great to see everybody after the summer, although personally in my mind, the summer's not over. We still have technically several more weeks until it becomes fall officially, right? So I'll take it. I'll take it. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your night.
Okay,
Thanks,
take
guys.
care.
Bye.
Good
Dan's
night.
getting ready in Freeze
Meeting's
Park. Come on down.
officially adjourned.